Welcome to Fresh Out of the Net, the Raffa Financial Services podcast, where we peel back the curtain to show you what goes on behind the scenes when local companies seek funding from investors. We are recording this at the Summer 2017 Piranha Tank in Washington, D.C. This is an event where companies who are seeking investment pitch their idea to a panel of investors. We're going to sit down for a conversation with one of the companies who just literally walked off the stage. In fact, we're behind the curtains here. And what we're going to have you do is get a better understanding of their strategy and their business plans. Doing the interview today is Sharon Tiger from Raffa Financial Services. How are you, Sharon?
I'm great. Thank you.
And the person doing the pitching is Cindy Frei of Caleb's Cooking Company. How are you, Cindy?
I'm great. Thanks so much.
Was it exciting being on stage today?
It was a little nerve-wracking, but it was fun.
I thought you did a fantastic job, Cindy.
Thank
Excellent.
you. Thank you.
So how did you find out about the Piranha Tank?
You know, one of the gentlemen who works here, he and I used to work together. And so when he saw that I'm on social all the time and I was posting blogs, and he said, you got to come on Piranha Tank. You should come and check out Piranha Tank. And so that's how I found out about it.
That's great. That's great. Earlier, you shared a little bit of the backstory on your son and how you got involved in this business. Would you want to share more?
Sure. Yeah. So my son, Caleb, was diagnosed with Crohn's disease about 4 years or so ago. And he was put on a special diet called the specific carbohydrate diet, which in essence, takes out all grains, gluten, sugar, complex carbs, anything that increases inflammation in the body, and to help manage his disease. The GI specialists wanted to put him on meds, and I resisted. I really felt like I wanted to first try an all-natural approach. Mm-hmm. And so we quickly realized, though, that there was just no food on the market that I could buy for him. Mm-hmm. There's lots of gluten-free stuff, and there's lots of healthy food, but nothing that takes it all out, and certainly nothing that's marketed for kids.
Sure.
And so that was the impetus, that was the inspiration behind Caleb's Cooking Company.
So you did what any mother would do when you're faced with a very difficult decision, and just kind of took matters into your own hands after going to the markets and not being able to find the foods that were suitable and appealing to Caleb. And I can relate to that as a parent that's always looking for healthy options for my daughter, who also has an autoimmune disease. And so diet is a big part of her treatment plan. And so when you were pitching, I related very much. It resonated with me and some of the struggles that a parent has, and just trying to find those good options that also, as you mentioned, the social aspect of it, something that allows them to fit in with their peers.
That was a really big part of it. Obviously, the food and just feeding my son is a big part of it, but watching him in pain and watching him struggle psychologically, I think that was the part that really got to me. And so that's what really drove me to really take action.
And how did you determine, or how did you get to the point where, wow, we could make a business out of this? So obviously, you were doing what you needed to do for your son, but at what point did you pivot and say, you know what? This could be a business?
I'm an entrepreneur, and so I think it's just in my blood. And I was trying to figure out how I could help the most people. How can I help the children? And at first, I went back to school to become a nutritionist. I was becoming a certified nutritionist.
Wow.
So that was my first move.
Okay.
And I was in the middle of that, and then I was realizing, well, I don't know if I could actually make a living.
Right.
But I had to take that move first. And then from there, I was like, I love food. I love to cook. And so it just sort of evolved. And then all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to make the food.
Yeah.
So then I just started one step after the next, and here we are.
Great. And so you've also built a social network around your company for parents and children that suffer or are living with autoimmune disease. And how has that helped?
Yeah, because that's, again, it's a big part of it. I mean, part of it obviously is it's a business and it needs to make money, but it's much more than that for me. Once you are a mom and you've got a sick kid, it's helping other parents just as much as the kids. A day doesn't go by that I don't have a parent reach out to me, because I've become, a thought leader in this space where parents are messaging me and saying, hey, Cindy, whether it's a question about food or the Chinese meds that, the Chinese herbs that Caleb's on. So I love just being able to help other parents. And then Caleb is helping the kids.
Okay.
Because he's 14, and so he's got other little ones that are like 9 that are on Caleb's club.
Right.
And he's able to sort of be a mentor to them.
That's wonderful. I think that's absolutely wonderful. So what was one of the first steps you took? Did you go to a local market? Tell me about some of the steps you took in building your business and making people more aware of what you were doing.
So I think the first thing, besides coming up with the name and the logo and securing your URL. You know, I was first trying to figure out, like, how would I even, because I've built businesses before, but I've never built a food business. So I was really stepping into new territory. And you know, I started searching on the web, and I came across DC Union Kitchen, which is this food incubator in Washington, D.C. And the more I learned about them, the more I realized that it's not just a kitchen where you go in and cook. They really bring in these businesses, and they help grow them. And it was exactly what I needed. You pay, obviously, but there are so many licenses you can't even believe, as there should be.
Sure.
But to be able to make and sell food to the public. And so they walk you through all that. They set you up for business. I mean, the packaging, this is where you buy your boxes. Here's designer. So they've got a dashboard and walk you through everything you possibly need. So they were my first stop, and so I got very lucky with them.
Okay. So do you think then some of the specialty food stores like a Whole Foods, which is just a few blocks from here, do you think that's something that's going to help drive your business and help with the marketing efforts?
Yeah, there's no question that we'll be in Whole Foods. I mean, that's certainly part of our strategy. I want to first sell online, and I want to nail down the production process, because if you can imagine making a couple hundred pizzas a day,
right?
It's a big endeavor. And so before I start delivering massive orders to Whole Foods and to moms and such, I want to really make sure that we have all of our ducks in line.
Do you have any competition right now?
Nothing that's direct competition. Nobody that is actually, it's hard to believe, and it's a little scary because maybe I missed something. I don't know. But, you know, there's nobody that is marketing, you know, healthy fast food for children.
Okay.
So it is really critical that I get to market and that we get this product out there.
Get to market and get to scale. And,
and part of it also is because the kids need it. I mean, if you look at the juvenile diabetes and obesity and autoimmune illnesses, pediatric autoimmune illnesses, they're exploding in this country.
True.
You know, just to throw one statistic out there that I just used in my pitch, you know, autoimmune illnesses are one of the top 10 causes of death for children in this country.
Right. And it's the invisible illness because you look healthy. People would never suspect that
and there
you're
are
not
over
feeling
100
well.
of them.
Yes.
Right? So it's not like cancer. I mean, there's a number of different kinds of cancer.
Sure.
Like they're studying cancer and they're researching cancer, but autoimmune illnesses.
And particularly in kids, what I understand is that the medications, most of the medications are being adapted from adults to children. So we don't know what the long-term effects or the outcomes are. So it seems like as a mother, one of the first steps, and what you are doing is attempting food and a healthier alternative as opposed to sort of pulling the trigger on medications that we don't know what the implications may be.
And also what I'm hearing are these horror stories from these parents. So they're coming to, for example, the specific carbohydrate diet after their children have been on one medication. They build a resistance to it. They move to the next medication, then the next medication, and then ultimately they land on diet. Right. And then the craziest thing is, you know, Caleb has never been on medication for Crohn's, but his, you know, there's certain markers you look for inflammation, and like the C-reactive protein and sedimentation rate, and it measures inflammation in the blood. I watched Caleb's, you know, because I measure all of his markers in his blood. I mean, I have a spreadsheet and yada yada. But his CRP level was at 36 when he was at his sickest. And I watched it just from diet alone drop all the way down to normal.
Wow.
Just from diet, and that's where he stayed.
Wow. Yeah. And so I know with autoimmune, there's typically a lot of doctors involved. Well, how do the physicians feel? Have they been supportive?
Luckily, I have a GI specialist who is very supportive, but it's hard. One of the things that I'm working really hard on is trying to educate the medical community. So I was in Dallas just a couple of weeks ago speaking at a Crohn's conference about diet and nutrition and the role that it plays in healing Crohn's. Because it's a big part of my mission as well, is educating the medical community and the public about it.
Sure. So Whole Foods, we mentioned those specialty stores as segments or industries that are going to help you grow. What other areas? Schools. I can't say the word area.
Like, I'd love to get into schools.
The schools.
I'd love to get into camps. I mean, obviously, there's specialty camps. For example, there's Camp Oasis, which is a camp for kids with Crohn's and colitis. There's 12 of them across the country. And I think there are camps for diabetes. So there's these camps that are the lowest hanging fruit that I'm going to go and close those deals first. There's obviously GI units of hospitals, right? So to provide this food for the kids at the GI units of hospitals. So third-party deals.
There's a lot of verticals.
There's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. What about internationally? Are there
I think in time. I think right now, if I could just clone me.
Yeah, right.
Or you could come work with me too.
Sure. Well, I would bring the passion for sure. What's one of the strangest allergies that you've seen? I'm jumping subjects a little bit, but what's one of the strangest allergies you've seen as you're talking with parents or physicians?
I don't know a lot about allergies. I just know, because I've been very enmeshed in the inflammatory bowel disease community right now, because that's the world in which we're living. Mm-hmm. There's certain communities that have migrated to diet, this particular diet, and autism is one of them, and it's having remarkable results with children who are autistic.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
It's amazing to watch.
One of the questions that had come up when you were on stage pitching was one of the investors had said, I can go to Whole Foods and buy a steak for $10 and I pay $13 for chicken nuggets. So could you walk us through a little bit, how is your pricing? Because I would guess that if you're not necessarily buying your packaged foods and you're trying to do this on your own, just shopping organic and through the grocery aisles, I would think it'd be pretty relative. I mean, you explained a ketchup bottle costing...
It's expensive. It's, believe me, because I've spent the last couple of weeks sourcing ingredients for my product. As an example, I would like to support a local, sustainable, family-run organic farm. That's just something fantastic. I would love to be able to do.
And really aligns well with what you're doing.
It aligns with me and my philosophy and the way I live my life. But when I priced out organic chicken, and I contacted a number of farms from Virginia and Pennsylvania and Maryland, it was between $11 and $13 a pound.
Wow. For
organic chicken from these farms. And then I went to the larger companies that sell organic chicken, and it was $6.50. So I have to go with the big company, right? And even still, the quality of my food is up here. It's very, very high, and it's going to cost. It is going to be more expensive. Unfortunately, that's going to limit certain people from being able to purchase it. But if there's a way that I can make it cheaper, I'm going to try. Definitely. The most important thing right now is that it's good quality and it's healthy and healing and whole.
This is maybe a random question, but I always like to know, what's one thing that you know now that you wish you had known when you started the company?
Oh, God. Wow, I don't know if I have an answer for that one. I am learning so much every day, and that's one of the things I love about being an entrepreneur is that you just learn so much, and you have to be able to roll with the punches. Patience, it's something I struggle with because I'm like,
right. I don't think that would be an anomaly for an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
I think patience
so
usually is.
It's an ongoing battle for me to, I did a Kickstarter campaign.
Okay. Wow.
And I was like, who wouldn't support kids? Who wouldn't, right? I couldn't raise the money.
Yeah.
I couldn't raise the money.
Right.
But today I just raised $100,000.
I know. Well done. Fantastic. Great job.
You have to be able to roll.
Yeah.
You have to roll with the punches. You're going to get knocked down. You got to get back up.
Well, I think you definitely demonstrated that on stage today. You did a fantastic job.
Thanks for listening to Fresh Out of the Net, the podcast that goes behind the curtains to show you how local business owners raise capital. For more information about us, please visit raffafinancial.com, RAFFA financial.com.